Welcome to the channel, everybody. Today we're diving into a topic that's both awkward and intriguing. We're talking about the US of A, the land of the free, the home of the brave, and apparently a place you might want to avoid in 2025. That's right, we're diving deep into the 10 countries that have issued travel warnings to their citizens about visiting the US. So buckle up, because we're about to unpack why these countries are waving caution flags, what it means for you if you're planning a trip, and of course we'll try to find some humor in the whole thing, because let's be honest, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, right? First up, we're heading over to Country 1, and let me tell you, they are not mincing words. Their travel advisory is basically a highlight reel of everything that could possibly go wrong on a trip to the States. Think of it like this. Remember that friend you had in school who was always getting into trouble, the one your mom warned you about? Yeah. Country 1 is being that mom right now. They're worried about everything from reason 1 to reason 2. And you know what? They might have a point. I mean, let's be real, the US has been making some interesting headlines lately. It's like the whole country is going through puberty, except instead of acne, we've got political turmoil and social unrest. And Country 1 has clearly noticed. They're basically saying, look, we love you guys, we really do. But right now, you're kind of a mess. Maybe get your stuff together and then we'll talk. But it's not just the big picture stuff that's got them worried. They're also concerned about more everyday issues like Specific Concern 1 and Specific Concern 2. And honestly, who can blame them? Nobody wants to spend their vacation worrying about Specific Concern 1 or getting caught up in Specific Concern 2. So yeah, Country 1 is definitely not sugarcoating things. Next up, we're hopping over to Country 2, and let me tell you, these guys aren't just whistling Dixie. They've got receipts. They've seen things, man, things that would make your hair stand on end. They've been keeping a close eye on the US, and they're not impressed. They've even gone so far as to highlight some specific incidents that have them seriously concerned. And when Country 2 talks, people listen. They're like the wise old owl of the international community. They've seen it all, and they know when to hoot a warning. One of the big things they're pointing to is Specific Incident 1. Now, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details here, but let's just say it wasn't pretty. It was the kind of thing that makes you want to invest in a good security system and maybe a panic room. And then there's Specific Incident 2. This one is a real head-scratcher. It's like the US took a page out of a bad reality TV show and decided to air all its dirty laundry on the world stage. Not a good look, America, not a good look. But it's not just isolated incidents that have Country 2 worried. They're also concerned about a more general trend of general concern. Alright folks, let's talk about Country 3. Now these guys are all about clarity. They're not going to beat around the bush or sugarcoat anything. They've got a system, a color-coded system, for how they view travel safety. Think of it like a traffic light for your vacation plans. Green means go, have a blast, send us a postcard. Yellow means proceed with caution, maybe pack some extra Pepto-Bismol. And red, well, red means stop, do not pass go, do not collect $200. And guess what color they've assigned to the US? You guessed it, it's not green. That's right, Country 3 has slapped the US with a big, fat color advisory. Now what exactly does that mean for you, the intrepid traveler? Well, it depends on how much you like to live on the edge. A color advisory means explanation of the travel advisory level. So, if you're the kind of person who enjoys a side of adrenaline with their morning coffee, then by all means book that trip to the States. But if you prefer your vacations a little less eventful, then you might want to reconsider. Alright, let's talk about Country 4. Now these guys are usually pretty chill. They're like the cool aunt or uncle who always lets you have an extra cookie. But even they're raising an eyebrow at the US right now. You see, something happened recently that really shook them up. It was like watching your favorite teacher get called to the principal's office. You just knew something was seriously wrong. This event, which we'll call Recent Event, was a real game changer. It made everyone, even Country 4, stop and say, wait a minute, what's going on over there? Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics of Recent Event because, frankly, it's still a bit raw. But let's just say it involved brief, vague description of the event and its impact. And that's why Country 4 is so concerned. They're not usually ones to overreact, but this was different. This was something else entirely. They're basically saying, look, we know things happen, but this is not okay. We need some answers, America. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about Country 5. Now these guys are all about the numbers. They're like the accountants of the international community, always crunching the data, analyzing the trends, and looking at the bottom line. And when it comes to the US, the bottom line is this: these travel warnings are having a real impact. We're not just talking about a few canceled vacations here and there. We're talking about a potential economic hit, a blow to the tourism industry, and a whole lot of uncertainty. See, Country 5 understands that travel and tourism are big business. They bring in jobs, revenue, and a whole lot of cultural exchange. But when countries start issuing travel warnings, it throws a wrench in the works. People get nervous, they start reconsidering their plans, and suddenly those flights to Disneyland aren't looking so appealing anymore. And who can blame them? Alright, let's talk about Country 6. Now these guys are all about specifics. They're not just going to issue a blanket warning about the entire US. Oh no, they're going city by city, region by region, telling you exactly where they think you should and shouldn't go. It's like they sat down with a map of the US, a red Sharpie, and a whole lot of anxiety. And let me tell you, that Sharpie got a workout. So, where are Country 6's no-go zones? Well, let's just say they're not recommending a leisurely road trip down south anytime soon. They've got specific Region 1 circled in red, highlighted, and underlined. And don't even think about booking a weekend getaway to specific City 1. According to them, that's a recipe for disaster. But it's not all doom and gloom. Country 6 is also kind enough to point out some places they deem relatively safe. They're giving the thumbs up to specific Region 2 and specific City 2. So if you're dead set on a US vacation, you might want to stick to those areas. Let's head over to Country 7, shall we? Now these guys are known for speaking their minds. They're like the friend who always tells you what you need to hear, even if it's not what you want to hear. And when it comes to the US, they've got a lot to say. In fact, some of their officials have been pretty vocal about their concerns. For example, official's name, the official's title of Country 7, recently said, quote from the official about the US travel warning, "Mic drop. I mean, they're not wrong, are they? It's like Country 7 is holding up a mirror to the US, forcing it to confront some uncomfortable truths." And it's not just official's name who's speaking out. Other Country 7 officials have also expressed concerns about specific concerns mentioned by officials. They're basically saying, look, we're not trying to start a fight here. We're just trying to look out for our citizens. Let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? We're heading over to Country 8, and these guys have a long memory. They're like the elephants of the international community. They never forget. And when it comes to the US, they remember a time when things weren't always this tense. They remember a time when a trip to the States was seen as a rite of passage, a chance to experience the American dream firsthand. But those days seem like a distant memory now. Over the years, there have been other incidents, other warnings, other reasons for Country 8 to be wary of the US, for example. Back in year, Country 8 issued a travel advisory after previous incident or reason for a travel advisory. And then there was that time in year when another previous incident or reason for a travel advisory. So yeah, this isn't the first time Country 8 has had to wave a caution flag at the US, and unfortunately it probably won't be the last. Alright, let's head over to Country 9. Now, these guys are all about practicality. They're like the friend who packs a first aid kit, a map, and a compass on every trip just in case. And while they're concerned about the US, they're also realistic. They know that some people will still choose to travel there despite the warnings. So what advice do they have for those brave souls? Well, they're full of helpful hints and tips to help their citizens stay safe while navigating the potential minefield that is the US in 2025. First and foremost, they're urging their citizens to travel precaution 1, and for good reason. You never know when, reason why the precaution is important. They're also recommending that travelers travel precaution 2. It's always better to be safe than sorry, especially when you're in a foreign country. Last but not least, let's swing by Country 10. Now these guys are known for their diplomacy. They're like the peacemakers of the international community, always trying to find common ground and build bridges. But even they're struggling to sugarcoat the situation in the US. They've looked at all the evidence, they've listened to all the concerns, and their conclusion is this: proceed with caution. They're not saying don't go to the US, they're not saying it's a lost cause. But they are saying that things are complicated. They're urging their citizens to be aware of the risks, to stay informed, and to make responsible decisions. They're basically saying, look, we're not going to tell you what to do, you're all adults here. And there you have it, folks. 10 countries, 10 travel warnings, and a whole lot to think about. Look, I'm not saying you should cancel your trip to the US, that's a decision only you can make. But I am saying that it's important to be informed, to be aware of the risks, and to make responsible choices. If you do decide to go, be sure to stay safe, stay informed, and maybe pack an extra suitcase full of patience. You might need it. And hey, if you do end up having an amazing time, be sure to send us a postcard. We could all use a little good news these days.